wanted to give you all an update on flexible seating. If I look sweaty and exhausted and I sound out of breath, it's because I am. I always believe in doing what's best for my students, even if it's not in the curriculum. We are doing our name symmetry project. Lots of changes coming. Once I know that I'm moving rooms, like part of me just wants to start packing stuff up now. Welcome to another week in 4th grade. I wanted to start with a quick recap of my weekend. On Saturday, Billy and I spent the day in DC, and then that night we attended an event in DC, drove back home pretty late, got up early on Sunday morning, drove to Baltimore for the Girls on the Run 5K, and then I came home and took a nap because I was exhausted and basically just did some work around the house the rest of the day. This week for school is a normal week, except it's not a normal week because our schedule is off. We are starting park testing, and if you don't know what park testing is, it is a national standardized test that our students take, although I don't think they're even calling it park anymore, at least in Maryland. I think we're doing some other, I don't know, but this week is 5th grade's test, next week is 4th grade, and then the week after is 3rd grade. So because of 5th grade testing this week, we had to change around our schedule a little bit. So we typically have cultural arts, which is our planning time, in the morning from 9:35 to 10:35 Monday through Thursday, but instead this week we are having it from 10:35 to 11:35. So we're gonna switch for block 1 and then go to cultural arts and then go back to block 1. Also, our lunchtime, instead of being at 12:35, is gonna be at 1:10. So it's a little bit later. Probably gonna have a million questions today about when is lunch, but that's what we're dealing with. So I have to go meet with my team teachers for collaborative planning this morning, and then I will catch up with you later on. I wanted to give you all an update on flexible seating. You may remember my team teacher and I did a Donors Choose project in order to get flexible seating for our classrooms, and we are so excited for it. However, we have to wait until after park testing because we have to have all of our lovely desks in single file rows during testing, and the flexible seating isn't going to work for that. So we're waiting until afterwards in order to implement it. So after next week, once park testing is out of the way, then we will start implementing full flexible seating, which we are ecstatic for. So we've kind of just kept the boxes up by the office. We finally brought them down to our room. I'm starting to unpack stuff, getting it ready. So as soon as the dreaded testing week is done, then we can implement flexible seating. And of course, I will do a tour with it and I'll do a video. Don't worry. I wanted to walk you all through my lesson today. We are starting symmetry. So my first slide is always our essential question. How can we describe symmetrical figures using geometric vocabulary? Then I have our I can statement. I can identify and draw lines of symmetry in polygons. Then we have our pose a problem. This is something sometimes students work through on whiteboards, but today we're actually just going to have a discussion. I'm going to show them different logos. So McDonald's, Volkswagen, Shell Gas, Starbucks, Adidas or Adidas, and I used to think it was not pronounced Adidas, but there was a podcast I listened to, long story, I now say Adidas, and then Walmart, and we're gonna have a discussion about what these logos have in common. Fingers crossed, hopefully someone recognizes that they all have lines of symmetry. So then I will show them where those lines of symmetry are, and we'll have a discussion about it, and I'll try to get my students to come up with a definition of what they think symmetrical means. Then we are going to look through some slides. So these are actually something I got off of TPT. I will link them for you, but it just kind of goes through like definition, and then we'll go through some examples and talk about multiple lines of symmetry, such as with these letters, and we'll talk about how Some figures don't have any lines of symmetry, and it just kind of goes through piece by piece. So I really like those slides. Then I'm going to show them a video on Flocabulary all about lines of symmetry. Flocabulary is a paid website, but to me it's totally worth it. My students love Flocabulary videos. Then I'm going to give them some notes on lines of symmetry. So I actually just made these up this morning because I don't think I gave my students notes last year, but these just kind of go through like a definition of a line of symmetry, some examples, and then some things to remember down here. Once they glue those in their notebook, they're going to complete the practice. So I'm going to give them some shapes, and they are going to fold the shapes to find the different lines of symmetry and then trace over them. Instead of me cutting out all of the shapes for all of the groups, because that would take forever, I'm just giving them this page, and then they will be responsible for cutting these out and then folding them. And we'll have a discussion about how some shapes have one line of symmetry, like this heart and like this trapezoid. Some have more than one line, like this rectangle, star, and pentagon, and then some shapes don't have any, like this shape right here, which I guess would technically be a pentagon because it has 5 sides, but not a regular pentagon. And then after we have that discussion as a class, they will complete the check for understanding, which is right here. So they are going to circle the ones that show a line of symmetry. First of all, I matched the wall, did not plan that. Second of all, that lesson that I just talked to you all through is a good example of me kind of deviating from the curriculum, because we do have a county created curriculum and I pull a lot of resources from there, but sometimes I read through the lessons and I'm just like, I'm sorry, but that is so boring and my kiddos are not going to be engaged. And so I pull from it what I like, and then I add in things that I think will help make it relevant for my students. So for example, having the different logos, those are all things that my students recognize, and that's helping them to understand how this is applicable to the real world. So I love doing that. I love doing Flocabulary, even though my county doesn't pay for it. Personally, I know how engaging it is for my students, and so I'm willing to do that for them because I always believe in doing what's best for my students, even if it's not in the curriculum, even if it means putting a little bit of money out of my own pocket. I believe in doing what's best for my kiddos. So I did take the idea of having the different shapes and having the students fold them to find lines of symmetry, but in the curriculum it only had them doing it with triangles, so I thought it was more beneficial for them to do it with multiple shapes. And so I just, you know, tweak little things here and there and make it work, and in the end, I think I'm doing what's best for my kiddos, and that's all that matters. It is now after school. I had Girls on the Run practice for the last time today, which on our last practice we do a banquet, so it's kind of like an award ceremony and we eat some good food and sign each other's like shirts and things like that. So that is now done. I just got back to my room. I have a lot of grading to do because I had to give 2 different graded assignments in science today and a graded assignment in math, because having part testing next week means we're not going to get any grades next week, and grades for interim reports are due like the week after, so we don't have a lot of time left to get grades, so I kind of have to squeeze them in as much as possible. So that means a lot of grading. However, next week I will not have any grading, which is nice. So I'm gonna go ahead and sit down, get the grading done, and then I'm gonna head out of here and I will catch up with you tomorrow. Good morning. Today is another day where our schedule is off, and I forgot to mention yesterday, not only is our cultural arts time and our lunchtime different, but also our recess time. Usually we have recess in the middle of our block 2 in the afternoon, but now we have it at the beginning of lunch, at least for this week with testing. So that's been a little bit interesting to try to, you know, get used to. We are doing something pretty fun today in math to kind of apply our knowledge of symmetry that we learned yesterday. So let me show you what that is. We are doing our name symmetry projects. You may remember me sharing about these last year, but I'm gonna share about them again because I think they're pretty cool. Now there are 2 different versions. This one is a little bit easier. It only has 1 line of symmetry. This one is a little bit more difficult. It has multiple lines of symmetry. So for each one of these, they only need 2 pieces of paper. For the more simple version, the first piece of paper, they're going to cut it in half long ways. They're going to write their name in bubble letters and trace over it with Sharpie. Tracing over it with Sharpie makes it easier for them to be able to trace it on their new piece. So on the new piece, they're going to fold it in half down the middle, hot dog style, and then they're going to put the template underneath and they're going to trace over it. Once they trace over it on this side, they are going to flip it and they're going to trace over it on the other side. Then with their final copy, they can go ahead and trace over it in Sharpie and color it. With the more complicated version, it's a square piece of paper instead of a regular piece of paper, so you can just trim down the regular pieces to become a square. They're going to fold it diagonally both ways to kind of create this cross in the middle. They're going to cut out one of those triangles to create their template, and again, they're going to write their name in bubble letters. And they're kind of going to do the same thing. They're going to put it underneath to trace, but with this one, they're going to start here, and then they're going to flip it this way, and then they're going to flip it this way, and then they are going to flip it this way for that final corner. So again, they're just going to trace it 4 times, and then they can trace over it with Sharpie and color it in. Hopefully that made sense. Probably not the best explanation, but I'm sure you all can figure it out. These are always a hit, and 4th grade for the month of May, we have the front display case, so we always hang them up there so students can all see them as they come into the school. I just have to say that it is a phenomenal feeling when it is 4:15 and I'm ready to get out of here because all my grading is done. I have no planning to do because I'm planned the rest of the week, and all next week we're testing. So I'm feeling really good. Now today with the name symmetry, overall, it went really well. I have to say my students followed directions for the most part, and I only had a couple of mess ups, but after they messed up once, they were like, oh, okay, now I get it. So we learned from our mistakes. It's all good. We are going to be hanging these up in the display case. So we're going to give our students until Friday to finish them. Whenever we have a couple of minutes of downtime, I'll tell them to pull out their name symmetry, color it in, finish tracing it, whatever they got to do, get it turned in. And any students who are already done, because I would say in block 1, 75% of them finished, and then in block 2, probably about 50% of them finished. If they are done, then they can work on their math review packet, which is due Friday. So that's our incentive for finishing early. I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here because I have no reason to stay at school. I'm gonna go enjoy some time by myself, and then I will catch up with you all tomorrow morning. Happy Wednesday. It is actually my planning time. It's like, I don't know, 10:45, 11 o'clock. So this morning we had our staff meeting and we found out about all kinds of changes happening next year. So first of all, one of our team teachers is not coming back next year, and then we are also gaining a 4th grade position. So because our numbers are going to be higher next year, we are going to have 5 teachers instead of 4. So we actually have 2 teachers that are coming in next year to fill those positions. We are also moving classrooms. So I'm going to be moving to a different part of the school, which means instead of just packing up my classroom at the end of the year to return the next year, I'm going to be packing it up to move to a new room. So I will definitely do a video on like my tips for kind of packing and all that good stuff, but lots of changes coming. And I'll be honest, once I know that I'm moving rooms, like part of me just wants to start packing stuff up now. But I will say that as I start to get my room ready for testing next week, a lot of the posters that typically I would cover, I'm just gonna take down because I'm gonna have to take them down anyway. So that'll be interesting. I need to grade an assignment that I gave my students in science this morning, get it put into the grade book. And then today we are playing Trasketball to review for Park, which I'm not gonna spend time telling you about Trasketball because I've done that 10 million times before. But if you are interested in Trasketball, I do have a video of all my favorite review games, which of course Trasketball is included in, that I will link for you in the description box. One quick tip though for Trasketball, this is something I just started doing and I absolutely love it. When my students are playing Trasketball, they answer questions on a whiteboard, and then I go around to each team and check over their answer. If they're correct, I have them go up to the board, add their point, get a ball, and then wait for their turn to shoot a basket. Now, some of the questions as they get more complicated are difficult to work out in my head, and I don't display the answer slide until every team is done. So to make it easier for me to know what the answers are as I'm going around and checking, I actually print out the slides, and I print 6 to a page so it's nice and easy to read. But that way I can carry this around with me and I know what all of the answers are even before I display the answer slide. I print out the question and the answer slides, but you could easily just print out the answer slides, carry it around with you so that you are ready to go. If I look sweaty and exhausted and I sound out of breath, it's because I am. I had Hero Boys practice after school. And today we are doing sprints, which obviously I participated in, so I am very tired. Overall, the day was pretty good. Like I told you before, we just played basketball to review for park testing. Overall, my kiddos did well. There were a couple problems that were things we went over at the beginning of the year that they did not remember, so we had to go over that. But you can just tell it's that time of year where we're all very burnt out and ready for summer, so I'm just trying to motivate them as much as possible and keep it fun. But I will say I'm very anxious for testing to be over because we're all just kind of reaching our limit. I need to put grades in the grade book. Thankfully, I don't have anything else to do in terms of planning, and then I need to get to the gym and get home, so I will catch up with you tomorrow. All right, we are almost through the week. It is Thursday. Number one, it was super foggy this morning. Kind of disappointed we didn't get a delay, but I'll get over it. Number two, I have a parent conference at 8:30 and it's currently about 8 o'clock, so I'm gonna just try to be as productive as possible for the next 30 minutes. And number three, we have something called Vocabulary Parade tomorrow. This is a yearly tradition for our school. Essentially, students all pick a vocabulary word. It should be a word that is new to them or a word that they are interested in, and they represent it on a poster with like the definition, maybe using it in a sentence, but they also dress up or create a hat or a costume or something that represents their word. Now, last year we didn't really participate in Vocabulary Parade because we were on a field trip that day, but this year it's tomorrow and we have nothing happening. So not only do the kiddos dress up, but the teachers do as well. So I came up with an idea for our 4th grade team and I felt like it was very fitting for this time of year. I said, hey, let's all pick different words that mean tired, because that's exactly how we feel right now. So my word for tomorrow is fatigued. So I'm going to dress up in my PJs and I need to decorate my poster, but because my word is fatigued, I'm not putting a lot of effort into my poster, okay? See what I did there? I went to Dollar Tree the other night and grabbed 2 poster boards, and I'm just going to cut them in half so it gives one for each of the 4 teachers. And my goal by the end of the day is to get that decorated and also start preparing my room for park, but I'll talk more on that later. And just like that, it is 6 o'clock. Today was a little bit of a whirlwind. Don't really know why. I just feel like I've been go, go, go the entire day. For science and social studies, my team teacher and I were switching, so I was in her class teaching science and I'm trying to get grades in, and then we took a practice test in math for park on the computer so my students could get used to the tools. I feel like I'm just trying to cram in as much as I can, but honestly now at this point, all I can really do is motivate my students. I know they're prepared for the test and I just need to continue encouraging them, which brings me to next week's video. It's gonna be all about testing motivation. These ideas you can use for pretty much any grade level, so make sure you tune in next week to check that out. But as you saw, I did start taking down posters and things from my classroom that I cannot have up for park testing. So things like my multiples charts, my multiplication chart, my place value chart. We had our QQQ posters, which stands for Quest for Quality Questioning, which our students don't even really use if I'm being honest, but I had to take those down. Last year, you may remember that I covered all of my posters with paper and I put motivational quotes on them. But this year, because I know that next year I'm gonna be in a different classroom, there's no point in covering them because I'm gonna take them down at the end of the school year anyway. So I went ahead and took them down. I'm gonna leave them down because it will start to kind of wean my students off of their dependence on using those posters. For example, our multiplication chart, my students are very dependent on using that. So by taking it down for the rest of the year, it will force them to find other strategies to use and hopefully, fingers crossed, memorize their facts. But anyway, it is after 6 o'clock. I need to get out of here. I will catch up with you tomorrow morning. Happy Friday. Today should be very interesting because I do not have planning time on Fridays and our schedule is off. We are gonna have hour blocks in the morning, but because our schedule is off for park, it's even more off than it would normally be. So we are gonna have block 1 for an hour and then study hall for an hour, but we're gonna do study hall in block 1 because our students are gonna go to chorus, and we usually do that in homeroom, so that should be interesting. Then we're gonna go to block 2 for an hour, go to recess, and then go to lunch, and then have the vocabulary parade. But for the vocabulary parade, it's supposed to be raining, which means we will probably have it inside. So we're just gonna go with the flow today. You know, I know my kiddos are all tired. They're anxious for testing next week. They're off because of our schedule being off, and it's just a hurricane of hot messes, but we will survive. We will get through it. I will check in with you around lunchtime when I'm getting ready for vocabulary parade. Here is my setup for vocabulary parade. Obviously, I'm not wearing it yet, but I'm gonna change it lunchtime. Here is my poster. It's literally just half a piece of poster board from the dollar store. And all I did is put the definition: fatigued, extremely tired from physical or mental exertion. And I had a little bit of space at the bottom, so I went ahead and put adjective just to fill up space. And then from home, I brought some PJs. So these are like my Christmas pajamas, but I don't have a lot of pajama pants, so this was one of my only options. And then I have this shirt that says Namaste in bed that I got from Target, and it's super ratty because I wear it to bed all the time, but I thought it was appropriate. This is a sleep mask that I actually took from one of my students that I had last year that's now in 5th grade. I saw her in the hallway with it for a pajama day, and I was like, hey, can I steal that for vocabulary parade? So she gave it to me, and I'll give it back afterwards. And then I have a pair of slippers. I'm actually going to be including these in my next favorites video. I keep these in my classroom for when my feet really hurt and I don't want to wear my shoes anymore, so it was super convenient to go ahead and wear them for vocabulary parade. Just a quick side note, this time of year, Dollar Tree starts carrying the snack containers again. These are the perfect size to hold a 24 pack of crayons, and they also hold a deck of cards. So these are some of my favorite containers. And right now, at least in my Dollar Tree, they have them in a 3-pack for $1 instead of a 2-pack for $1. So whenever I see them in a 3-pack, I grab them just in case, even if I don't need them right now. I feel like I always end up needing these containers. It is lunchtime and I'm officially ready for the vocabulary parade. I got my eye mask, my PJ shirt, my PJ pants, and my slippers. I did end up adding a little sleeping emoji to my poster, and it's been a little bit hectic because we've been fighting off with the rain and trying to figure out what we were gonna do. And so at one point we were told that we were moving the vocabulary parade up to 2 o'clock, and then as a result we had to change our lunchtime. And then 15 minutes later they came to us and said, no, never mind, you can keep your same lunchtime, and regardless. So the parade is now gonna be 30 minutes earlier, and then we're gonna do the sharing with our buddy class, which is the 2nd grade class next door. So that way the 4th graders can share with the 2nd graders and vice versa. That's going to happen after the parade instead of before. So it's been a little bit hectic, but we're halfway through the day, so I think I can make it. classroom is officially park ready, as much as I hate it. My desks are all in single file rows. I have their pencils on them, and then I hung up all of my different motivational posters, which I'm going to talk more about these in next week's video, so don't worry, that is coming, but they are just displayed up and around the room. And then over here I have some privacy shields, some mints that they're going to get, and then their headphones. And there's a couple of other things that I'm doing to motivate my students, but I'm not going to tell you about them now, so make sure you check out next week's video. I feel like wearing a sleep mask is kind of like wearing a hat. Once you put it on, you just gotta leave it on. So this is still on along with my PJs. So I've been very comfy as I've been moving desks and hanging posters and all that other not so fun stuff, but you gotta do it, you know, it just comes with the program. This week was very tiring, if I'm being honest. I am very worn out. I know next week will probably be the same. It's amazing how when you're testing, and even though you're not teaching, just because you're walking laps around your room for like an hour in the morning and then an hour and 15 minutes in the afternoon, it is very tiring. So I know I'm probably gonna feel tired next week as well, but we're getting there. It is May. We only have about 30-ish days left of school. Maybe it's 40. No, I think it's 40. I don't know. We go until the middle of June, so however long that is. But we're getting there, you know, one day at a time. If you enjoyed this video, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Also, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell if you haven't already. As always, thank you for watching. I love you all so much. Don't forget to put your Prized pants on. For me today, they are plaid. And I will catch you all in the next one. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end of this video and for supporting my YouTube channel. If you want to check out any of my older videos, you can use the 2 links right down here. If you want to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any future videos, you can use the link right up here. The links to all of my social media sites, my Teachers Pay Teacher store, my merchandise store, and my Amazon store are in the description box, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.